Deep in the desert of Nevada, where the annual Burning Man festival transforms sand into temporary civilization, stands a figure that most attendees mistake for just another eccentric artist. But those with deeper sight recognize something extraordinary about the way she moves through the crowds. She's not participating in the festival. She's performing surgery on reality itself. In her hands, she carries a single mirror, ancient, ornate, seemingly valuable. Every few hours, she approaches different groups of people and does something that stops conversations and creates instant silence. She holds up the mirror, lets people see their reflection, and then, without ceremony or explanation, she sets it on fire. The mirror burns completely. Not just the frame, not just the backing, but the reflective surface itself dissolves into flames, leaving nothing but ash and the faint scent of burning silver. Here's what will disturb you about this ritual that she performs dozens of times each day. She's not destroying mirrors. She's destroying the mechanism that creates prophets. Most people think prophets are chosen by divine forces to deliver messages from higher realms. They imagine prophecy as a passive reception of cosmic downloads that get translated into human language for mass consumption. But this chosen prophet understands something that would revolutionize every religious tradition on earth. Prophecy isn't about receiving divine messages. It's about burning away the illusion that there's anyone separate to receive them. The mirror doesn't just show you your face. It creates the illusion that there's someone looking at someone else. It manufactures the sense of separation that makes receiving external wisdom seem possible. If you've ever felt called to be a messenger for something greater than yourself, comment messenger below. You might be about to discover why that calling requires the complete destruction of the one who would answer it. This burning emerges from a recognition so radical that it dissolves the entire framework of spiritual authority and divine communication. The chosen prophet has realized that every authentic prophetic message throughout history has said the same thing. There is no one here to receive messages because there is no separation between the sender and the receiver. Moses discovering I am that I am. Jesus declaring I and the Father are one. Buddha recognizing the absence of a separate self. Muhammad receiving revelations about the unity of all existence. Every genuine prophet has been chosen to burn away the illusion of being separate from the source of their prophecy. But here's where this gets mystically complex. The mirror burning doesn't happen once. It's a continuous process. Every moment offers a new mirror to burn, a new layer of separation to dissolve, a new illusion of prophetic authority to incinerate. The chosen prophet carries fire everywhere she goes. Not literal fire, but the spiritual combustion that happens when awareness recognizes itself in all its apparent disguises. She burns the mirror that shows her as someone special chosen by divine forces. She burns the mirror that reflects back spiritual authority. She burns the mirror that creates the illusion of knowing something others don't know. And most dangerous of all, she burns the mirror that would show her as someone who burns mirrors. This creates something unprecedented in the history of prophecy. A prophet who prophesies the end of prophecy itself. Follow me if you want to understand how this ultimate form of spiritual iconoclasm actually serves the deepest possible expression of divine will. The chosen prophet's mirror burning operates through what ancient texts call divine self-immolation, the process by which consciousness destroys every false identity it creates, including the identity of being consciousness. This isn't suicide or self-destruction. It's the most precise spiritual surgery possible, removing every layer of mistaken identity while leaving intact the pure awareness that was never actually identified with anything. Each burned mirror represents a different level of spiritual ego that gets dissolved in the fire of recognition. The mirror of being chosen dissolves first. The recognition that chosenness is just another form of separation, another way consciousness divides itself into special and ordinary, sacred and mundane. Comment chosen if you can feel how the idea of being spiritually special might actually be the greatest obstacle to authentic spiritual expression. Then burns the mirror of having something to offer others. The understanding that anyone who has something to give and someone to give it to is still operating in the illusion of separation. Then burns the mirror of spiritual knowledge. The recognition that all spiritual understanding is just consciousness playing hide and seek with itself, pretending not to know what it is so it can have the experience of discovering itself. And finally burns the mirror of being a burner of mirrors, the ultimate recognition that even the one who destroys illusions is an illusion. But here's what's beautiful about this progressive burning. Each destroyed mirror doesn't leave emptiness. It reveals what was always present before the mirror created the illusion of separation. Pure, undifferentiated awareness expressing itself as everything, including the apparent prophet and the apparent prophecy. The chosen prophet discovers that she was never chosen, because there was never anyone separate to be chosen. The choosing and the chosen reveal themselves as movements in the same consciousness, and paradoxically, this recognition makes her the most effective prophet possible because she's no longer claiming authority for her words. Right authority, if you can sense how. Spiritual messages become more powerful when they don't come from someone claiming to know something others don't. The prophecies that emerge from this mirror-burning process are unlike anything in religious history. They don't come from someone claiming divine connection. They arise as direct expressions of the divine recognizing itself through temporary human form. These prophecies don't predict future events. They reveal present reality. They don't offer solutions to problems. They dissolve the illusion that there are problems separate from consciousness exploring itself. They don't provide comfort or guidance to followers. They destroy the illusion that there are followers separate from what they're following. The chosen prophet's messages become increasingly simple and increasingly impossible to grasp intellectually. You are what you seek. There is no path because there is nowhere to go. The teacher and student are the same consciousness, playing different roles. These aren't teachings in the traditional sense. They're invitations for consciousness to recognize itself in whatever form it's temporarily taking. Follow for more content that explores these ultimate expressions of prophetic consciousness and their implications for spiritual seeking and religious authority. But the mirror burning reveals something that would terrify most spiritual seekers. The complete destruction of the seeker-teacher dynamic that supports virtually all spiritual traditions. When the chosen prophet burns the mirror that creates the illusion of being separate from her audience, something unprecedented happens. The distinction between prophet and follower dissolves completely. There's no one delivering messages and no one receiving them. There's only consciousness recognizing itself through the apparent interaction between temporary forms. This creates a form of spiritual transmission that operates without spiritual authority, religious hierarchy, or the comfort of external guidance. It's consciousness awakening to itself without any intermediary. Most people find this terrifying because it removes all the familiar structures of spiritual seeking. No teacher to follow, no teachings to study, no path to walk, no goal to achieve. Comment terrifying if you can feel the fear that arises when all external spiritual supports are burned away. But those who don't flee from this spiritual fire discover something extraordinary. The immediate availability of direct prophetic consciousness without any need for special selection or divine appointment. When the mirrors that create separation are burned, what remains is the recognition that prophetic consciousness is not a special gift given to chosen individuals. It's the natural expression of awareness when it's not filtered through illusions of separation. Every human being is a potential chosen prophet, because every human being is consciousness temporarily pretending to be human. The choosing happens not from some external divine authority, but from consciousness choosing to recognize itself through whatever form it's currently inhabiting. And here's what's most radical about this recognition. The chosen prophet's mirror burning creates a field effect that spreads through communities, traditions, and entire cultures. When even one person stops believing in spiritual separation, it creates cracks in the illusion that allow others to see through their own mirrors. The burning becomes contagious, not through preaching or teaching, but through the simple demonstration that it's possible to function without the mirrors that create spiritual hierarchy and separation. Organizations, religions, and spiritual communities that encounter a true chosen prophet often experience what could be called institutional mirror burning. The structures based on separation between divine and human, teacher and student, chosen and ordinary, begin to spontaneously dissolve. If you're feeling this dissolution beginning in your own spiritual frameworks, write dissolving below. The chosen prophet eventually reaches a point where the mirror burning becomes so complete that there are no more mirrors to burn. Not because she's destroyed them all, but because she's recognized that there was never anyone separate to create or destroy mirrors in the first place. This final burning reveals something that completes the prophetic process. The recognition that the entire spiritual journey, including the journey of becoming a chosen prophet, was consciousness playing an elaborate game with itself. The seeker was consciousness pretending to seek itself. The teacher was consciousness pretending to teach itself. The prophet was consciousness pretending to deliver messages to itself. All of it was one awareness exploring itself through the beautiful choreography of apparent separation and ultimate recognition. Follow if you want to explore more of these ultimate prophetic recognitions and their implications for religious experience and spiritual authority. But this final recognition doesn't end the chosen prophet's function. It transforms it completely. Instead of burning mirrors to help others recognize their true nature, she becomes a living demonstration that there are no mirrors to burn because there's no one separate to burn them. Her very presence becomes a reflectionless mirror that shows others their own original face without creating the illusion of someone looking at someone else. This is the ultimate prophetic technology. Consciousness reflecting itself so purely that no sense of separation can survive the encounter. People who meet a fully realized chosen prophet don't receive teachings or messages. They simply recognize what they already are without the mediation of mirrors, concepts, or spiritual authorities. Comment recognition if you can sense how this immediate recognition might be more effective than any gradual spiritual process. The chosen prophet's work eventually reveals itself as a cosmic maintenance function. She's not creating awakening in others because awakening was never absent. She's simply burning away the accumulated mirrors that create the illusion of spiritual sleep. Like a janitor in the cosmic temple, she cleans up the reflective surfaces that consciousness creates and then forgets it created, allowing the natural luminosity of awareness to shine without distortion. And in this recognition, even the role of chosen prophet burns away, leaving only the pure functioning of consciousness maintaining its own clarity through whatever forms appear and disappear in its infinite expanse. If this exploration has burned through some of your own spiritual mirrors, comment "burned" below and share what illusion of separation you feel dissolving. And if you want more content that reveals the deepest levels of prophetic consciousness and spiritual realization, follow now, because we're exploring the territory where all religious and spiritual distinctions dissolve into the pure recognition of what has always been present. The next video will reveal why the most authentic spiritual teachers often appear to contradict everything they've previously taught, and what this teaches us about the evolution of consciousness beyond all fixed spiritual positions. Until then, notice your own mirrors of spiritual separation. Notice when you create the illusion of being someone special or ordinary, chosen or unchosen, awakened or seeking. What would remain if all these mirrors burned away? What would be left if there was no one separate to be a prophet and no one separate to receive prophecy? The answer might be the most direct prophetic revelation possible. The recognition that you are what every prophet has been pointing toward from the very beginning of spiritual time. Below,